BRICS began as an idea, not an alliance. It was a concept born out of shifting global realities, a response to the changing balance of power in the world. In the early 2000s, the world was shaped by Western dominance, with the G7 setting global economic rules. The United States, Europe, and their allies held most of the influence, making key decisions that affected the entire planet. But new powers, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, were rising fast. Their economies were booming, their cities expanding, and their voices growing louder on the world stage. Economist Jim O'Neill coined BRIC in 2001, predicting these nations would drive future global growth. His idea captured the imagination of policymakers and investors alike, sparking debates about the future of global leadership. The four countries saw their potential and recognized their limited influence in institutions like the World Bank and IMF, still dominated by the US and Europe. They realized that their growing economic power was not matched by their say in global affairs. They wanted a more balanced system reflecting new economic realities. The desire for reform and a fairer voice in decision-making brought them together. In 2009, their leaders met in Russia, transforming the BRIC concept into a political forum. This was a historic moment, marking the first time these emerging giants formally united to discuss shared interests. Their aim: to increase influence and push for a multipolar world. They wanted to ensure that no single group of countries could dominate the global agenda. BRIC was never a military alliance or a tightly integrated union, but a flexible platform for dialogue and cooperation. It was a space where differences could be discussed and common ground found. They focused on reforming global financial institutions, boosting trade, and tackling shared challenges, from climate change to development. Their cooperation extended beyond economics, touching on science, technology, and humanitarian issues. The group's foundation: respect for sovereignty and non-interference, an alternative to Western models. They emphasize partnership based on equality and mutual benefit. From the start, they called for a more democratic international order, seeking a voice proportional to their economic weight. Their message resonated with many other emerging nations. This wasn't just about power, it was about stability and fairness. BRIC wanted a world where opportunity and responsibility were shared. The formation of BRIC signaled the end of the unipolar post-Cold War era. It was a turning point, challenging old assumptions about who leads and who follows. A new chapter in global politics was opening, with fresh voices and new ambitions shaping the future. The world was no longer the West's alone. The rise of BRICS marked the dawn of a more inclusive, interconnected era, one where emerging economies would help write the next chapter of history. BRICS quickly expanded, evolving from a loose coalition into a powerful alliance with growing ambitions. In 2010, South Africa joined, making it BRICS and bringing Africa into the fold. This addition was more than symbolic. It gave the group a foothold on a new continent and a stronger voice for African interests. This move broadened the group's reach and signaled a commitment to representing the global South, amplifying the voices of developing nations on the world stage. BRICS built its own institutions, like the New Development Bank in 2015, offering alternatives to the World Bank and IMF. These new structures aim to fund infrastructure and development projects without the usual Western conditions. They also created a contingent reserve arrangement, a financial safety net for members, designed to help countries weather economic storms and currency crises. These steps made BRICS more independent and resilient, giving members greater control over their economic destinies. As global tensions rose, pandemics, wars, and economic fragmentation, BRICS' model of non-alignment became more attractive to countries seeking alternatives to traditional alliances. Dozens of countries expressed interest in joining, eager to be part of a bloc that promised a new kind of global cooperation. In 2024, BRICS welcomed Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE, becoming BRICS Plus. Expansion continued. Indonesia joined, further diversifying the group's membership and influence. Then came a shock. Italy and Hungary, both EU members, entered BRICS Plus in 2025, breaking expectations and raising eyebrows worldwide. For the first time, the line between the Western Bloc and the Global South blurred, challenging old alliances and assumptions. This historic moment sent shockwaves through the global order, forcing leaders everywhere to reconsider their strategies. BRICS's appeal now reached into Europe itself, drawing in countries that once seemed unlikely to join. The group was no longer just a coalition of emerging markets. It had become a magnet for nations seeking a new path. It had become a truly global force. The world was watching, and the stakes had never been higher. The balance of power was shifting, and a new era in international relations was beginning to unfold. Italy and Hungary's entry into BRICS Plus was a dramatic shift for Europe. Years of frustration with the existing system and a desire for new opportunities drove their decision. Italy, after a disappointing experience with China's Belt and Road Initiative, still faced economic stagnation and needed new markets and investment. Hungary, under Viktor Orban, had long sought closer ties with Russia and China, valuing BRICS' respect for sovereignty and non-interference. For both, joining BRICS Plus was about hedging bets, diversifying partnerships without abandoning the West. The world was no longer bipolar or unipolar, it was multipolar and multi-aligned. Italy and Hungary wanted seats at multiple tables. Their move was a bold statement. National interest could transcend old alliances. Europe's unity was no longer guaranteed. The rules of global engagement were being rewritten. Economics drove Italy and Hungary to BRICS Plus. The expanded bloc accounted for nearly 40% of global output and included major energy producers and consumers. For energy-dependent Italy and Hungary, direct access to this energy club promised stability and better deals. Italy saw new markets for its exports and fresh investment for its industries. Hungary aimed to cement its role as a bridge between East and West, attracting more capital and securing its place in future supply chains. The new development bank offered funding without the strings attached by the IMF or World Bank. For both countries, BRICS Plus meant more options and flexibility. It was a pragmatic bet on the world's economic center shifting eastward. Diversifying dependencies was now a survival strategy. The future belonged to those who could adapt. BRICS Plus and the G7.EU represent two starkly different models. The G7 is a club of wealthy democracies, united by shared values and deep integration. The EU goes further, pooling sovereignty for a single market and common policies, but this unity can feel restrictive for members seeking independent paths. BRICS Plus, in contrast, is a flexible coalition. Democracies, autocracies, monarchies, united by a desire for balance and respect for sovereignty. No one is asked to change their system, consensus, and non-interference rule. Italy and Hungary now straddle both worlds, bound by EU rules, but free to pursue their own interests in BRICS. This dual membership is a sign of the times. Nations are building webs of relationships, not choosing sides. The era of rigid blocks is fading. Pragmatism and multi-alignment are the new normal. The global order is more fluid than ever. BRICS Plus is on a mission to reshape the global financial landscape by reducing the world's dependence on the US dollar, a process known as de-dollarization. This ambitious effort is gaining traction as more countries join the conversation about financial sovereignty and economic resilience. For decades, the dollar's dominance has given the US unique power, including the ability to impose sanctions, influence global markets, and set the rules of international trade. This has allowed the US to shape the world economy in its favor, often at the expense of other nations. BRICS sees this as a vulnerability for emerging economies and is actively seeking alternatives to reduce their exposure to dollar-driven risks. The group is pushing for trade in national currencies, China buying oil in yuan, India trading with Russia in rupees and rubles, and other members exploring similar arrangements to bypass the dollar. They're developing a BRICS cross-border payments system, aiming to challenge Western-dominated networks like SWIFT and create a more inclusive global payments infrastructure. The new development bank is issuing more loans in local currencies, helping member countries reduce their exposure to dollar fluctuations and build stronger, more independent economies. There's even talk of a common BRICS currency, a bold idea that could further unite these nations, though it remains a distant and complex goal for now. This isn't just about finance, it's a direct challenge to the existing global power structure, signaling a shift in how influence and authority are distributed worldwide. BRICS envisions a more democratic, stable, and multipolar financial system, where no single country holds all the cards. The push for de-dollarization is gaining momentum, with more nations considering alternatives and new alliances forming. The world's financial architecture is being reimagined, as new centers of economic power emerge and old certainties are questioned. The US monopoly is no longer assured. The stakes are global, and the outcome will shape the future of international finance for generations to come. News of Italy and Hungary joining BRICS Plus rattled Washington and Brussels. In the US, some saw it as a threat to Western unity. Others urged engagement and adaptation. The economic appeal of BRICS was undeniable, and isolating allies risked pushing them further away. In Brussels, the move sparked internal tensions. EU unity was challenged, and fears of outside influence grew. France and Germany worried about divisions and complications for EU policy. Yet some acknowledged the need for the EU to adapt to a multipolar world and address member states' anxieties. Italy and Hungary's decision was a wake-up call. The status quo was unsustainable. Europe's future would depend on its ability to evolve. The global chessboard had changed. As 2025 ends, the world stands at a crossroads. Italy and Hungary's move is a symbol of a shifting multipolar order. Nations are choosing multi-alignment, not rigid alliances. BRICS Plus is now a true counterweight to the West, representing much of the world's population and resources. The key question: will these blocs compete or cooperate on global challenges? Effective governance will require reform and collaboration. The choices made now will shape the future. The next chapter is just beginning.